Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
How's it doing?
Not too
How are
bad.
you doing?
How's it doing?
Very good.
It is doing well.
So this episode of Tomb Raider Race to the End is going to be a little different. What we're doing is basically a reaction video to Steve of Warr's retrospective on Tomb Raider Chronicles. We thought it would be a brilliant way to finish off the series where we played through the fifth instalment of Tomb Raider. So that's what this show is going to be. But first, a little throw forward to a future show that is well in the works.
Been missing our Tomb Raider evenings, though. Now, obviously, Chronicles Race to the End series sadly came to an end. But to cheer us up, I have got hold of the most underrated, probably because it's not rated, DVD game. So I propose that we run through this together.
Okay. A DVD game.
No console needed, just your remote.
Well, you do just
Yeah,
press
so
play.
I think it's a kind of outline story of Angel of Darkness, so that will kind of fit in nicely with where we are in the series as well.
Okay.
So if you grab yourself a copy, hang on.
That was another brilliant video from Steve of Warr. I'm really impressed with just how brilliant he is at picking out exactly the right points in the level, give you the idea or the gist of what you need to do to complete it, and showing you and he does it in just such a concise way. It's like reliving the game in its entirety, but condensed into this hour-long package. It's great.
Definitely, and he really builds on the kind of cutscenes and the story behind it, stuff that I just completely missed when playing it. Most notably was there's 4 different sections of the game, yet only 3 people at the funeral, and I did always wonder while playing who introduced what section, and yeah, it's been cleared up by watching that video, to be honest.
Each section is introduced by a character in the form of a memory of one of Lara's many adventures, and then the player gets to reenact them for themselves. Charles came, by the way, as the substitute for Jean-Yves, or French Shatner from the last game. He was meant to be featured in this game too, but because Core Design decided to use the likeness and the name of a real-life archaeologist without his consent, it drew too many complaints, which meant that they had to pull him from the game at last minute.
He notices some really great points as well, and there's some bits that, you know, watching back, I didn't notice the first time around. He mentions the statue in the Rome levels of how it has a suspect groin area, which I didn't notice the first time around. I don't know about you.
No.
A giant statue with a distorted texture on its crotch that makes it look like it has a massive vagina.
Maybe that says more about Steve of Warr than it does about us.
It probably does. I like how he keeps it light and comical.
Definitely, yeah. And the kind of cuts and the visuals he adds to that comedy, and
Yeah, just his use of Tomb Raider assets and other game assets as well. Like, really sort of like it's quite thematic. It's great.
one bit that he particularly picked out, which I know that we both had a big notable moment of the game for us, was the chef on the submarine.
What you're actually supposed to do is hold down the walk button and then slowly walk up behind him and use the use key on his back to then select the crowbar to then use that to knock him out.
In one of the scenes that he put together, when he tried attacking the chef or approaching the chef, he'd crawled, but the chef turned around with a crawl, so you have to walk, even though, as Steve says, the footsteps are really loud. just doesn't make sense.
But it takes you back there, because I crawled. I tried doing that.
Oh, did you?
Crawling around. Yeah. Like, and then I was trying to reach the frying pans.
You just assume that you have to find some kind of item within the kitchen to use to hit him with, like the pots and pans, not walk up to him casually with the loudest footstep noise in the world.
Yeah, it's like this person has gone through the same thought process as me and come up against the same sort of frustrations.
I do feel sorry for him though, because he definitely approached Red Alert slightly differently to us and had a much tougher time.
I mean, fuck me, right? That seems like the obvious thing to do, doesn't it? What the hell is a first-time player expected to do at this point? Just wing it and hope for the best?
Much tougher time.
You know, I think we've got him to thank for that, because I think it was like one of his tweets about like how broken certain parts of the game were, including Red Alert, that alerted me to the fact that we're probably going to need to use some sort of strategy walkthrough guide sort of thing.
One thing that I didn't notice while playing, however, if I do return to the game, I will not be able to miss now because it sticks out like a sore thumb, but the sky textures and how bad they look. Because I think generally it's a very good looking game, and I think Steve picks up that the island levels are particularly impressive visually.
In terms of the overall atmosphere, this is the best chapter in the game by a long shot. The environments give off a very strong, spooky, and almost Tim Burton-like vibe to everything.
But yeah, the sky textures are quite jarring.
I noticed it just before we were getting into the submarine. Other than that, I was still quite in awe because we had a sky, which you don't always have in Tomb Raider games.
That's true. That's true.
The cutscene just sort of ends, and then before you know it, bam! We're in the next level. No connecting shot, no follow-on from the last environment. We just get a fade to black, and we end up at the start of the next level in a dead-end alleyway.
He made a very good point here, where the start of the level doesn't continue from the previous one, and that can break the immersion. Another point that I would sort of add to that would be how going into save your game in Chronicles, it pauses the playback of any atmospheric music that you might be enjoying at the time, and that takes me out of the immersion, and that I found extra disappointing because that was something that you had in the first game.
And the end of level bit obviously comes back, particularly when you're trying to race to the end of a level. And Streets of Rome.
Yeah. I'm so fast, I'm racing through level 2 already.
First level of Streets of Rome, and I finished it, and I actually quite enjoyed watching the end bit on Twitch. Dude, you're on level 2.
Oh, I finished the first one. It's Treasure Market's level 2.
Yeah, that's the
Oh.
second screen.
Oh.
I just took that from. I like the way it's he's always holding the controller, which is great. But he mentions he's playing on PC, so that's quite interesting.
Plug a controller up to a PC though. I think people use that as a prop, don't they? I'm going to say one thing and then conclude my point by picking this up.
I think it works.
Here's my reflection, and now that I've got this controller, let's have a look at the game. Up to footage of the game.
But yeah, another great video by Steve of Warr.
Just the perfect companion piece. Sometimes I don't know how much media I want to consume around a game before sort of playing it. How much, how forewarned I want to be about hard parts. If I want to be using a strategy guide, if I want to be using maps, if I want to be looking at walkthroughs. And this game and this series is somewhere sort of between the two. Like, I kind of want to experience it fresh for the first time, but then also I don't want to get stuck in these game-breaking points. But like, watching something like this just aids my enjoyment of that game completely. So I'd recommend it to anybody who has played or is about to play Tomb Raider 5 Chronicles. It just adds to the enjoyment.
Big up. Don't know what that was.
That's like the start of the Wolf of Wall Street, isn't it?
That was Tomb Raider Chronicles, Race to the End. Hopefully you'll consider joining us in our playthrough of the AOD DVD game, which will be coming very soon. As always, leave us a comment if you've got anything, any good Tomb Raider questions. We will read those and possibly respond to those. And give this a share if you can, help more people, more Lara Croft fans see it. Cheers, and we'll see you in the next series.
If you grab yourself a copy, hang on. Let's do it.
You want to do an outro?